It just looks like a Renault 5. I'm super looking forward to seeing this done. Back to another video. We are at Crankworks and we have come to look at their rear-wheel drive, Saab-powered, giant turbo Renault 5. So let's dive in and let's have a look at what makes this so special. So let's dive into this. This is obviously a Renault 5, and anyone who knows Renault 5s will know they are not rear-wheel drive. And well, let's have the purists, the Turbo 2s and all that. Yes, they were, but come on, let's not go into them. This is a fully space-framed tube chassis Renault 5 with a Saab. It looks like the 2-litre B204 engine with a giant, what I would guess looks like a 35 turbo GT35. It looks like, obviously, it's got the billet throttle body. I would have thought that looks like the original cast inlet manifold, which has been adapted, maybe shortened, or I would have thought so. Actually, it's probably been adapted so the inlet sits here, because I think on the B204s the throttle body sits on top, so that's been all adapted. But this is, and it's just a crazy build. It does look like, from having a quick walk around, this looks like it used to be like a national hot rod shell. Just the way everything's been designed. I'll show you that when we get into side and get around the back, because I've seen some of these shells. If you follow the channel, will know when I went to Ireland, we drove a couple of cars which were originally national hot rod shells and they were adapted. So this is in a Crankworks to have basically the fabrication work done. So Cranky's literally done like the boost pipes. I would have thought he's done some of, like I say, some of the intercooler work, the mounting. He's done the boost pipes on this side. I would have thought he's kind of getting this ready to be running and driving, because as I've said, Cranky is basically one of the main guys in the UK for Saab conversions, Saab mapping, anything Saab, Cranky's done. So this is kind of reason why it's here. I can't see what gearbox it's on from here. I would have thought maybe like a Quay 4-speed, or even something like an Amiga box would fit on this engine. These engines, as if you follow the channel, they make phenomenal power. They do frustrate me from time to time, because a stock engine with this scene 700 horsepower just by changing some valve springs to reinforce them, and they just love power. Take the twin-engined Astra pickup we did, that was 730 horsepower on a stock engine. As you open the door, you can literally see it's all been cut out. Now that is for, obviously, as you can see, the door bars. This kind of design is very typical with like a national hot rod type car, so they do that. I don't know why, maybe to give a bit more room inside for when you try to climb in and out, not 100% certain. But then as you go in here, this section here is to be removed, because the guy who owns this car would like a passenger seat. That there is basically for the exhaust tunnel, because when I've seen the national hot rods, they'll have a giant manifold which comes off here, which runs down and runs across. But with this being a turbo, you can literally get away with shortening that, because it's only got to have literally like a 2-3 inch pipe running down just along the prop shaft. So all this has got to come out to be basically panelled in, so you can get the exhaust tunnel down. I would have thought some kind of tank in there, possibly what it was. So as you look in here, very much, as I keep saying, the national hot rod style, where it's the 3-pointed steering wheel, the adjustable pedal box, which is down there with the BIOS and what have you, hydraulic handbrake. And I would have thought, obviously, this is the hole for the gear selector. Whether that's in the right location for the current setup of the gearbox, I don't know. And another one is the national hot rods put this bar in, which has obviously got to go when the seat goes here, because they're looking at the back, we have the full roll cage in here, and then looking in the rear, which this setup here, which is the very long trailing arms, is identical to the cars that we went to see in Ireland. It is absolutely spot on. I actually think on the ones we went to, the seat actually sat a little bit further back, because I had the problems where I span off on the track, because you feel in your bum when you sit close to the axle is a bit strange. So then we've got the English back axle with obviously 2 coilovers either side mounted off the roll cage. Again, if people look at Autograss, this is how they kind of make the Autograss cars. It's all tubular chassis, and all the fixing points are welded to the cage and the frame. The body's just bolted on top, which, as you can see, just there and over there, it's like the shell's been put on top and just bolted down, so it's not particularly needed. And again, if you look here, you can see a trim edge, which is this box section work. So if you stuff the shell, you can lift it off and rebolt one on. But this one's going to be a lot more work for the future, because it has to be road legal. I would have thought maybe this is where the original fuel tank was, that's where the battery was. Your prop shaft runs through, and it's got this adapter plate to attach to the English rain axle. The fuel tank's obviously potentially being moved to that kind of location. There's a lot of work left to do, but as you can see, it is definitely an interesting build to follow for the future. So going around the back, you've also got that bar there, which goes to there, which is to stiffen up the articulation of the axle. You can lower it, heighten it, basically to assist on how stiff this axle is. It's all about dialing in the rose joint settings to make it handle a certain way. And I would have thought with the National Hot Rods, it's very, very needed, because I'm going to guess they're on like an oval circuit, so you can adjust that so it can kind of handle going in one direction. Back to the steering area, not much really to show. It's always very, very snug down here. Adjustable BIOS, big rev gauge, OMP steering wheel, and what looks like a cat's been living in Cobra bucket seat. It's a work in progress. There's so much work to do, but I think you'll agree this is going to be such an entertaining build. I would have thought something like a cheap Chinese exhaust manifold, possibly adapted. I don't know if you can get these already from China with the header flange on. Maybe it's a cheap Chinese manifold, I'm not 100% certain, which has had the head flange chopped off, the Saab one welded on, because I would guess this is an adapter, which is an adapter for the turbo. This is Chinese. Anyone who knows Chinese welding knows that's what Chinese welding's like. It's kind of dark, MIG welded, and then spot welded over top. And then you can see Cranky's welding on this side, which is basically far superior. It's on a tile external gate, as you can see there. With a space frame car, you can kind of tell everything can be just adapted to fit. There's no hassles, no problems. It's all there. You can add brackets wherever you need them. You're not kind of limited by space. And that's why the bulkhead's been adapted as well, because the engine needs to sit so far back. So you've got obviously the steering rack at the front, which looks like these are, which a lot of the National Hot Rods done, and I've said before, they are mainly Escort Mark II stuff, I'm going to guess. Uprights, suspension tops. I'm sure someone in the comment will comment if they're not. This is an anti-roll bar blade, if you can just see there. The anti-roll bar goes along the front, which is the here, and then comes up through the anti-roll bar. It's on obviously single wishbones at the top, single wishbones which are rose jointed, and then obviously the steering arm, which isn't rose jointed, is underneath, but near enough parallel to help obviously with, again, as we know with me, bump steer. Good thing with tubular chassis stuff, you can obviously see where they just put an adapter plate on and bolted through for the engine mount. Steering rack comes through, which isn't on a stupid angle, nicely clears the engine, as you can see, goes down to the rack. And identical this side. Obviously this is a work in progress. He's here for Cranky basically to finish off, do some metal work on it, because he's not technically built the car, the customer's bought the car, and he's just going around adapting it, making it work, just basically converting it from a National Hot Rod car to a road legal car. Fantastic work and a fantastic build. Working around the outside, this only reinforces what the stub axles are. It looks like it's a Ford fitment, which again would say to me it's more than Escort Mark II stuff. And then we swing around the back again, still on the Ford 4-stud setup. As you can see, it is basically from the rear, it just looks like a Renault 5. I'm super looking forward to seeing this done, because like I say, back in the day when we were growing up, it was Uno turbos, Renault 5s and all that type of thing. To have a Renault 5 campus, hopefully he's going to keep it a bit rat looking, not in your face, not like a show car, just a bit like this to surprise a lot of people. Obviously, the wheel arch is off. This has obviously been cut out because obviously if you look there, it's got like these flat plastic attachments. It's all been cut out. Again, that's all to be cleaned and trimmed. It needs some repair work because the body's not in the best condition. It does have new sills to go on, but to be fair, I actually like this colour. It looks really, really good on this. So I managed to open the boot to have a better look at this space frame in the rear. And as I've said, you can see the bar here for the adjustment for the stabiliser for the back axle. It does look like it's all an Escort Mark II English back axle. A lot of the National Hot Rod cars do. But as you can see, it's very, very much rudimentally. Everything's based around the space frame and the shells plonked on top. There's a lot of work to be done to tidy all this area up and box it all in, because I think the shell's been a little bit rotten in places. So that is obviously Cranky's next job, is to start paneling everything in to make it neat and tidy. Great base to start with is a National Hot Rod shell, because there is so many combinations of, you know, shells you can put on top, engines you can put in, transmissions. There's so much you can do around a space frame than you can with just a basic car. So sometimes if you do want to do a crazy build, a space frame shell is 100% the way to go. But again, there's just as much work as everything else. But for me, if you're doing something crazy like this is sometimes the best way to do that. So I'll sign this video off. That's just a little introduction into the Renault 5, and I think you'll all agree this thing is going to be pretty amazing when it's done. I cannot wait to see a Renault 5 doing donuts, looking hopefully as standard and a little bit rusty like it is now, because this will surprise a lot of people. So we'll sign this one off. I hope you enjoyed that little introduction to this car. There's going to be a lot more videos from Crankworks coming in the future. Watch this space. Take care, guys, and I'll see you all on the next video.